I might not have enough money, but I have a brain that I can use. And so let's see how can I get the same results and beat the competition. While these people have millions of dollars, I have like $5. What can I do to get the same outcome, or at least try?
Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing Movers. Today we have Alessandro, the CEO of the Influencer Marketing Factory. They're a data-driven influencer marketing agency that's worked with companies like Google and Snapchat, and they came in as the 340th fastest growing company on the Inc. 500 last year. We're super excited to hear about what's next for them, and we're excited to have you on the show, Alessandro. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Where I'd love to start the conversation off today is actually with your story as a business owner. You've been an entrepreneur since you were 16, and it looks like you've started multiple businesses before starting the Influencer Marketing Factory. Can you tell us about how you got started in entrepreneurship and how it led you to where you are now?
Sure. I will try to make a long story short. By we Italians, we talk a lot, right? Like you have to really to stop us, right? When we start talking. But jokes apart, I will try. Again, as you said, like I started this journey when I was quite young. I never worked as a typical employee in my life, so I don't know anything about the go to an office, stay there, with the pros and cons, right? So the cons is that like you have to work for someone else, but the pro also is that you can go on PTO, you can put out of office. I never experienced that in my life, right? So since I was like a teenager, I always worked for myself. I work sometimes like maybe as a freelancer for someone else, but again, never the typical, 9 to 5 type of thing. I always been very curious since I was a kid. I was lucky enough to start working playing, let's say, with the idea of a computer since I was 5 years old, right? I had it in the classroom when I was in elementary school. I had lucky enough to have one computer of my, my dad at home, right? And so I was quite fascinated by that. And then fast forward to middle school, I learned in school how to use HTML. And I got in love with that, right? The idea that you can write something and then it goes on the internet, it was fascinating to me. And then, in those, when I was maybe 14, 15, I started working as a freelancer. I was started doing websites. I was paid like nothing. I was not doing that for the money, right? I was doing that for the knowledge, to get in my network of people and just playing around with it. I was like just the idea that I can make some money to pay for my own things at that age, right? And then also learning how to do things. It was fantastic to me. And then, yes, around 16, 17, 18, I started to do a bit more work. Primarily, again, was a combination of graphic design plus web design and so on. And then when I was like 19, it's where I actually started. Between 18 and 19 is where I started my first startup called Milanoise. Basically, it was a website on my city, Milano, in Italy. And, it was a way to show the people that you can actually do a lot of things in the city if you're between 18 to 25. There was not, let's say, a website for that range, that age. And so I was like, let me show you, right? That even if without money, without anything, you can do it. I didn't make a single dollar in that moment. It lasted around 3 years. But I had a team of 20 people with me that were working for free. We were all working for free. At that age, you can still, right? You're usually staying with your parents at home and everything. So you can do it just in exchange for a ticket for a concert, going to a museum, going out for a festival for 1 week for electronic music, right? So I learned everything. I learned everything about how to make money, but I learned about, how to actually manage a startup, how to work with other people, how to be a good, employer, leadership. You learn a lot, right? And then after that, they were still in Milano. Then I went and I moved to Copenhagen in Denmark, where I did my master's degree while I was working remotely for an Italian company. And then I started working as a growth hacker or growth marketer, as you want to, call it. When I was in Copenhagen, primarily working on business-to-business SaaS. So not the most exciting thing, but you learn a lot about how to do out-of-the-box ideas, right? So again, since I was very young, I was I might not have enough money, but I have a brain that I can use. And so let's see how can I get the same results and beat the competition. While these people have millions of dollars, I have $5. What can I do to get the same outcome, or at least try? And so that helped me a lot, right? To understand, okay, you have to all the time use your brain to bypass problems and get to the same sort of solution. And so after Copenhagen, then I moved to Miami. the complete opposite of Copenhagen. So imagine, like, you go from a city, rainy, cloudy, whatever, all year long, to Miami. That is the opposite. It was a great way for me to get in the US for the first time. And that's where I learned about how big are the US. Being a European, right, you come from a different point of view where you don't really realize how big is the market of the US. And finally, when I got in, I was like, oh, now I understand the opportunity, the potential, right, to go from 0 to 1, from 1 to 5, and so on. And after that, a couple of years in Miami, then I moved to that is where I actually opened the Influence Marketing Factory. But then, since I am a city person coming from Milano, I always wanted to go to New York City, where I'm like right now. So I've been, with my own company for 6 years now. But before that, as you correctly said, I tried multiple things. It's a typical story, right? When you try 20 different things and finally, after a lot of ups and downs and some failures, you're finally able to make it. And you will never get a successful company on day one. It took me more than 20 years to understand how to make it since I was, again, a teenager. So, yeah.
Right. And that's what I thought was super interesting about your background. And I'd love to hear more about some of these like early agencies. What was your way of thinking, or, as you started the growth hacking agency, and then I think it's called Alexia Dose, what was the reason for the transition? What were the different services? Then how did you ultimately end up with the Influencer Marketing Factory?
Absolutely. So yeah, I did like a lot of growth hacking because I still love like that idea, like it is, as I said before, how can you use your knowledge with a fraction of budgets that other might have still to get to that one. So when you're a growth hacker, you have to combine together a lot of different skills, right? From soft skills to hard skills, and different departments to get all together. So you have to be good at doing analytics, but also graphic design and A/B testing, and soft skills in terms of networking and SEO and SEM. Like there are so many things all together that it takes a bit, right, to master and be able to make them work. But once you do it, it's the outcome is fantastic, right? Because again, you're like, oh, I'm only one person, but I'm doing basically things for like a team, right? And so I was like, okay, I think I'm pretty good at that. Let me start offering these services, right, for clients in Europe and in the US. And that's how I started, right? So I was like, I know how to bring customers, I know how to bring you, more revenue. And so I did it for a while. But then I realized a couple of things. First of all, growth hacking agency, it's a lot of work. And many times, unfortunately, clients don't understand the value of it. Like you bring someone, on first position on Google for a very competitive keyword. They're like, oh, nice. What's next, right? And like, wow, like I spent 6 months on this, to bring you there, or like more than that, right? And then maybe sometimes it's like, hey, your CPC decreased by X amount. And they're like, oh, that's great. What's next? All the time. And so unfortunately, it's so technical as work that many times, unfortunately, clients don't really, I think, understand that. And it's a bit frustrating, right? So you work so much and they don't really get it. And to be honest, also, you don't make that much money. At least when I was doing that, I think that, again, it's such intrinsic value sometimes that they don't really understand, like in terms of clients. And so you cannot really sometimes price it as you wish. And because of that, it's long hours, long day. You still able to make a good living. But let's say that if you don't work, right, that moment, then you're not making money, right? Because also delegating growth hacking is very difficult. You have to find other people with the same skill set. So it's fantastic for a bit, I would say. But after a while, then and so I was start also looking around, and I was actually working with the same person. I was working as a growth hacker in Copenhagen, and we were looking, okay, what is next, right? Okay, so SaaS is something, because SaaS was a big thing, right? This was 10 years ago, right? Everyone was looking at SaaS. And so now we were like, okay, but in addition to that, what else is there? And, we saw that influencer marketing was this big new thing, right? And so we started looking into that, and I actually had to write my master thesis about something. And so I was like, why don't I write my master thesis on something that I'm already working on, that is influencer marketing? And so I wrote this 100 pages that was all about how much to pay influencers, because at the time there was not a real idea of that. And so after a while, working on the influencer marketing also as a job, I was like, you know what? I think that there is a big opportunity here. right? And so after writing my thesis, after, working already in the influencer marketing, then it's when I moved to Miami, right? And I was like, okay, there is a big opportunity here, right? We're moving from celebrity business to influencers, typical person business, like, that everyone can become a content creator these days. And so, yeah, I kind of, bet on it. And then after a few years of understanding a bit more how influencer marketing was it, then I built my own company, and we made a lot of success because we have been one of the first offering TikTok, when it was not a thing, but I was a big fan of Vine, right? And when Vine was discontinued, I was looking for, okay, what is next? I found about TikTok, and we start offering that, right? And we bet on it, 100% on it. And we were quite lucky that it was the right bet.
One of the other things that I thought was interesting was it sounded like in your master's thesis, you also figured out a way to really deeply quantify how much you should be paying. Is that a big piece to you guys being this data-driven agency? Is that kind of a core differentiator, or are there other components to it?
It's one of them, absolutely. Again, this thesis even had a little tool where you were able to put any handle of that was for Instagram. At the time, TikTok was not even a thing. Didn't even exist at the time. And so we were able to put any username and get in all the data. I wanted to show the world that influencer marketing is a serious business. Not just because at the time there was a bunch of kids in front of a camera telling you hey, buy this product. It didn't mean there was a serious thing. We're talking about billions, right? That are now in the creator economy as a whole. So even bigger than influencer marketing. So absolutely, my data-driven approach was being a growth hacker, you have to look at a lot of things, and one of that is metrics, it's KPIs. And I wanted to transpose the same, mindset, the same approach to influencer marketing. So yes, absolutely. I think that was my initial point to be let's show the world that this can be an ROI type of, work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I thought this was super interesting too, because I've been talking to a lot of other different influencer marketing agencies, and I haven't seen this except for you guys. Maybe I'm missing it on other companies, but the creator economy market research.
Yes.
Super fascinating. Tell us more about this ability to kind of plug into the market and get those insights and how it plays into the campaigns that you build.
Absolutely. And this is also something that I say all the time for any agency out there, for any owner of a company, of a marketing agency, a company, whatever, okay? Let's say you just started, okay? You don't have that much money to invest, but you want to get your company out there, right? So imagine we were a no one. I didn't have any connection in the US. I didn't have, let alone money, because, when you're an immigrant on a visa, you spend everything on lawyers, as you spend everything in your rent and everything. So again, going back to the growth hacking mindset, you have to use, what you have, right? So from necessity to basically get into a solution. And so what I did, it was this idea of using an existing audience, right, to get out with your message, with your name. And so basically working on positioning without any budget. How do you do that? You do it with, again, using some audience that already exists, right? So there are publications out there that are read by sometimes hundreds of thousands of people every month, if not millions. And some of them are going to be decision makers in companies, right? And so that helps because, first of all, you get out there without paying for a PR agency. And number two, you get authority in the space. Because if you get on the Wall Street Journal, if you get on Forbes, if you get on Reuters, right, you get your name out there. It's okay, these people are legit. They got, mention about that. How you do that? You work for free, basically, to give this information to the public, right? And so that's what we did. Every year we do between 3 to 4 different reports. One of that is about the creator economy. And so basically we work a lot. It takes months, okay, to do it. You have to go out there, and we created our own surveys, right? So we go out there, we survey, let's say, 1,000 people in the US, content creators, 1,000 consumers in the US, right? We get all this different information. Then we ask to for quotes, right, from other experts in the space, right? And then we take third-party data that already exists, right? And we say, okay, let's put these, graphically speaking, with charts and everything. And we're talking about reports with 90 plus pages. There is a combination of our own data, third-party data, quotes from experts, different sections about the future of the creator economy and so on. And it takes maybe 3-4 months, right, to put everything together, but then you put it out, and all this data is new, right? And reporters and journalists always need data. So for them, it's fantastic, and it's a win-win because we get our name out there, and reporters get fresh new data they can use in articles. And so my biggest advice for people listening today is, even if you have no money to invest, you can use your own time, right? So do a report. Don't think about all the time, what can I get? Think about giving first. Get the things out, and then it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a win, but for sure you know that if you don't give to others, you're not going to get, right? And so that was absolutely a good one. We're now working on a ultimate guide for content creators. So this time it's not going to be about only for reporters and so on, but it's going to be more like, I'm a content creator, let me see. So we're doing everything, all different sections on how to master your work. But all in all, it could be about anything. If you're like a marketing agency, but you do SEO, whatever, do a report about what is working and what is not working. Go out there, and you're going to find publication in your niche. They're going to be able, and happy to quote you, to get it. And you're going to get backlinks. So it's fantastic for SEO. You're going to get your name out. It's great for authority. And then after that, you get all these, your name out, then you can send it to, events, right? Or things happening, conferences, and be like, hey, look at our authority. Can we speak there? And it's like, yeah, sure, come. And then so you built piece by piece. But again, you can start today, even literally with $0 and just by yourself. Get information in, get the most popular episode out, put it graphically in a nice way, give it to reporters, to niche publications. It's not going to be overnight success, but it helps drastically to go from 0 to 1.
That's that growth hacking mentality that you built over, 20 years. That's super smart. What have you learned about synthesizing? When you're doing research at that scale, how are you guys taking that information in and really methodically going through it to create the insights and kind of see the forest through the trees?
I'm lucky enough to have a great team with me. It's a small but mighty marketing team. We're 3-4 people. So at the beginning I was doing everything myself, right? But after a while I was like, hey, I need some support. I cannot do everything. I cannot be the CEO of the company, also taking care of numbering the page of the report myself. And so I'd say that you have to do a good job from the beginning on organizing everything on what you really want to see. What is going to be the goal of it? Many times it's not really about the content necessarily, but it's about the goal, right? Okay, who is going to read this? What are going to be my KPI, right? What can I consider a success, right? So first of all, we want to understand that. Number 2, you go to content, and you definitely have to have a structure. Do it with Notion, do it with Trello, do it with Asana, whatever. But you have to know exactly who does what, how long it's going to take more or less to do it. You have to assign tasks to a certain person. And you want to be sure that you know exactly, again, you have a deadline, and you go back in time and be like, okay, because I want to go live this date, I have to go backward and say every week I'm going to have this sort of results out. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So again, it's not easy, especially when there is so much, right, in terms of information. And so that's why, again, you have to ask yourself, who is going to read this, and what is my goal, right? Once you understand that, you're able to understand, okay, this data is going to be interesting for this type of audience, while this other is not going to be important. If you're doing that for decision makers in mid-enterprise companies, well, they might not really be interested in, how to become a content creator, right? Because it's whatever, they don't care. They care about other stuff. So you will remove that data, right? And then next time you're going to do a report, only dedicated to other people. You don't want to put everything in, right? Because at the end of the day, it means talking to everyone and talking to nobody, right? And so it's a lot of, at the first report you will do, it will be chaotic. It will take so much time, to do it. And it might not be perfect. You will go back and be like, oh, damn, we used the wrong chart type, right? In that case, the methodology was not perfect. It's okay. Up until you're able to fix things the next time and everything, or of course, you don't want to go out with wrong data. There's going to be quite catastrophic if you go out there with wrong data. But if you're able to, like do a sort of alpha version, and then the next time is going to be better. But the organization of that, don't think that it's going to be just easy because, a few pages about something. No. You want to do it well. And also because your name is out there. It's still part of your identity. You want to do it properly, because if you go out with a report, with a guide, with a PDF that is not your standards, people will also remember that. Like, they published this, but it was not that good. I wonder how do they work for their clients, right, on other stuff. So that is also part of your DNA.
Right. Well, I'd be super curious, with all the research that you guys are doing, where do you see the creator economy going over the next 5 to 10 years?
So it's, to me, to be honest, it's still like, the tip of the iceberg, because imagine also like, we are called the Influencer Marketing Factory because at the time when we created the company, there was not the idea of the creator economy yet, right? So influencers were a thing. Then we kind of started opening up also to content creators, right? Because as a main thing, imagine that you have, everyone can be a content creator, right? Like every influencer is a content creator, not every creator is an influencer, right? And so because of that, now the opportunity about the creator economy are great. Like I'm talking about, sky's the limit, because before you only had the person in front of the camera or behind the camera. But now you have an influencer that has a team of people with them, right? I talked on our own podcast called The Influence Factor about, what does it mean to manage a team when you're a content creator? And some of these people have 20 people on their team, and you don't even know. You watch one of their videos, you're like, whatever. They have actually a script editor, they have a video editor, they have a brand deal manager, they have like an agent for whatever, right? So it's so complex these days, and that's why we're talking about, billions and billions poured in, right? And so for us, and really like, betting on this, because everyone is becoming a creator. There is so much more than just, TikTok. There are newsletters. There is like this podcast, right? There is so many opportunities to monetize with your passion. I'm not going to say that it's easy, but again, for me, I've been doing this for 10 years. For certain aspects, it's just the beginning. We're like just scratching the surface. So there is, if you are not in yet, it's still not too late, in my opinion, to get in.
Is there an edge to that pendulum? Everything's this swinging pendulum. Do you think that we're getting close to, like the cap, or do you feel like there's just so much more to go?
There is a lot more to go. With that said, though, we're going to see absolutely, we're going to balance things, I think, out. Like talking about that, everyone is kind of, doing the gold rush, right now. But I think that a lot of people will realize that it's not that easy. It's a competitive market. You need to do your homework. And many people, they maybe will quit. And some of them already quitting after just a few months, realizing that it's not that easy. So I think that more people will try to make it, but it's going to get more competitive, and only the best ones are going to get there. The same also for content. I'm noticing that people are kind of starting again to making original content after copying content of others for all the past 3 years, right? Because TikTok kind of used us to use the same hashtag, the same song, the same trend. YouTube the same, right? Because if you see a video on YouTube getting 20 million views, what you will do as a content creator? You will try to copy it, right? Because, okay, it worked well. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I think that people have content fatigue and they want to see something new. So I think that up until you are going to do original content, you're going to be able to be consistent, you're going to be able to make it. If you think that you're going to just go out there and be like, it's a side job, side hustle, whatever, I'm going to get in, put in 2 hours of work here and there, you're going to fail. And I think that in time is also going to be fair to the ones putting a lot of time, that the people just not taking that seriously are not going to make it. So there is a lot of opportunity, but more and more meritocracy happening in the industry, for sure.
Right. How do you think about creating original content, especially, it's so time consuming to create quality content? Is a big part of it having a mechanism in your company like that market research where you can get those unique insights, or is there maybe a less operationally complex way to go about it?
To be honest, I don't know how to answer, because I know how to create content, like, for a podcast, for a rep. Like I'm definitely better at B2B content. That I know how to do it. If you ask me, like, for a typical content creator, like, B2C, that's where you lose me, right? Like, because B2C content is so much different than B2B, right? B2C, you have to get in front of like millions of people, while B2B is a success if you get in front of 1,000 people, because that 1,000 people might have more money to spend on than a million, Gen Z people that might not have even like, $5 in the bank account, right? So it all depends on that. So B2C, I really don't know about that, but B2B, again, it's part of the job. Like what I say all the time is I learned this thing a long time ago, thinking about content marketing, but an advice that I could give is this: no matter the type of original content you want to, try to, once you created something, try to transpose that content to different medium, right? So if you create a blog post, then make a little video where it's a recap of that blog post, right? And then after that, maybe make a podcast episode about it. The thing is that you already worked on something, right? And each medium is going to be different. So you know that if you want to do a TikTok video, it has to have a hook at the first couple of seconds, right? The blog post has to be SEO oriented. The podcast has to be charismatic enough for people to listen for 40 minutes, right? But you're already working on something. Why not to take that thing and, again, repurpose it for something else? It doesn't have to be a sloppy job. People will see that. You still have to put, as I said, like the right format in each of them. But that is the way where you can create, again, original content about something that, the more niche you go sometimes, again, don't be fooled by the idea, only 100 people saw that. If it is super niche, it might be more useful to have a unique content to 100 people that yet the same content seen by 1 million people that will not find it useful or valuable because they already listened to that multiple times. So that's why if you do your own research, you're going to be the first one with that data. Do a video about it. Do a report. Do a podcast. It's the first time that people will hear about it because you're the first one. Do your own data, insights, research, and so on. So you can do so much, after that you spend some time on something.
Yeah, I feel like that's super valuable, and it's something that I've been trying to do more of lately as well. I think another thing that, at least for me, because I was not like a big social media person growing up, the idea of creating content was so intimidating. And I was like, why don't I'm delivering a service to my clients. Why don't I just start, let me document, this is the thing, it's how it's made. And then I just put it out there. And it was like a really low barrier way for me to get started. And because it was me and I just was authentic to myself, it worked better than I thought it was going to. So it was kind of like this low barrier, easy way for me to just get started. And it snowballed from there.
Exactly. And also what I say all the time is that just publish it, whatever. It might not get views. It's okay. It might get more views. Better for that. If you get some feedback, it's not going to be easy. Of course, it could be feedback about the audio, about what you said in the video and so on. But it's the only way to get better at it, right? And many people are thinking, oh, this video is not perfect. It's not what is that saying? Perfection is the enemy, whatever, right? I really believe in it. I just say, just do it. Just go out there. The first video is not going to be perfect. You're not going to have the perfect microphone. The lighting is not going to be good. The content might be, you might not, get the attention of the people there. It's normal. It's not something that you know how to do. It's a skill that you have to learn. It's like public speaking. You speak the first time in front of 10 people and you're going to be super shy and be like, oh, just what if I say what people are going to think about it? Then you'll be like, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal. Next time you speak in front of 50 people and then 100 people and so on, right? It's the same for social media. You have to just get used to it, getting all the criticism, all the feedback. And next time you do it, but just post it. There are so many content. Who cares? Just do it.
Right. It's going to fall in with the sea of millions of other posts.
Yeah,
if it doesn't
exactly.
do well. Where I'd love to transition the conversation, especially as a growth hacker from, the last 6 years, starting at day zero to where you guys are now. What was your strategy for growing the agency and how did that change as you guys started to bring on more clients?
Absolutely. I'd say three main things with a little asterisk that is you can plan whatever you want, but life is life, right? In the bad, in the good. When I started the company with my co-founder, we didn't expect to go to where we are in our wildest dream. Again, to go back to the thing of European mindset, very small, very niche. Usually, if you're from Italy, you only work with Italians. If you're in Spain, only with Spanish. If you're in Germany, only with Germany, right? And so the markets are smaller. When you arrive to the US, even though the US, California and Utah are very different, and New York is different, and and so on. Each state is different, but you potentially, once you're there, get in front of 330 million, right? Citizens and people listening to you, and tourists and everything, right? So, first of all, even if you plan everything, again, everything can happen in your life, right? For the good and the bad. With that said, I use 3 different things. One is to be lean in terms that, again, coming from me from Europe, it was like I don't need to go to a VC and asking for $10 million to start this. I can start it, and my mindset has always been like, I prefer to go to 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 5 in an organic way, in a safe way, than as many VC here in the US do. Lately, not that much, but if you remember before COVID, they were giving money like peanuts, right? What happened is that you overgrow the company. You grow too fast, right? You hire fast. You have to start firing faster, right? Because things don't go as planned, and then it's chaos, right? So I really believe in being a lean team. When you're a founder, you're gonna have to have so many hats on your head. You're going to have to say, even if I don't like doing this, I have to do it. And I will have to learn so many things. But try to keep your team very lean. Maybe a few less people that are able to, having a 360 point of view, right? And that helps, because then if you're lean, brings me to the second point, that is adapt, right? Especially in marketing. And especially like in our case, influencer marketing, one day in influencer, I say this all the time, but like influencer marketing is like one day there is like, I don't know, 7 years, like it's like Interstellar, right? That's what I say all the time. It's 7 years and everything else, right? So you have to understand that it goes so fast. Marketing changes all the time. The moment you stop adapting, you're not able anymore to be on the edge, and you're not able to be that valuable for your clients, right? And if you go back to like point 1, that is being lean. If you're not lean, your adapt time is going to be way slower, and you're going to be beat by competition. So if you're lean, you can adapt much more, and adapting, it means that you're going to be all the time in the loop of the latest trends, and you're going to be the go-to, right, for what you do. And your clients will stick around, because like, oh, wow, I don't only pay these people to get this done. I pay them because they can all the time reassure me they know what they're doing. They can tell me and guide me on what is next in the market, right? So these 2 points. And the last one is people first. I had, unfortunately, when I was in Miami, the experience of working in a toxic place. And I know what does it mean to be on the other side, to be, again, I was like not really ever an employee, but a contractor, whatever. I know what does it mean when someone doesn't treat you well and properly and fairly. And when I left that situation, I was like, if I'm going to create this company, I want to be sure that people are happy. And even if there is a lot to work, right? Because in an agency, you always work a lot, right? Like I haven't never met an agency owner that's like, oh, I work 4 hours a day and that's it. No. Clients will ask you for everything at any time during the day, right? And you have to work. That's the, unfortunately, like it's the good and the bad of an agency. There is a lot going on. It's exciting. At the same time, it's a lot of work. And so I was like, I know that that's it. That's it. Knowing that, how can you make everything more like, like nicer for people to be there? And so really investing in people, like we have a very good tenure of people. People have been with us for a long time, and proudly, we are the only agency in our market with 5 stars on Glassdoor. Like wow. It's something that for us is very important. Once you're able to understand that there is a person, a human being before a professional, and you're able to understand like if they're going through something, and you talk over that, and you really truly care. Like I hate when they say we're a family here. Like if someone tell you like we're a family here, just run it, because it's just a fake way to say, oh, we care. Run away if they say we're a family. If instead they say we're not a family here because we're all professional, but we truly care like about things, and I'm very happy that a lot of people in our company are referrals of existing employees. That means that you would never tell a friend of yours come work here if they didn't like it. Having so many referrals, it's a good KPI for you, like a good sign. Be like, okay, maybe I'm doing something good here. Am I saying that we're perfect? Absolutely not. There is so much as a startup that you learn, right? But again, if you put people first in an agency, the agency is a people business. If your people are not happy, if they like something that is frustrating, and again, there are always going to be frustration situation with clients and so on. But if you listen, if you actually then do what they ask you to do to help them on a day-to-day, operationally speaking and everything, that to me, it's way better to invest more in someone and having the person from the long run that, as some of our competitors, they're called revolving door agencies. They get in 3 months in, 3 months out. How can that help in terms of team morale? And also, like, you're spending time to train someone and that person after 3 months is gone. Can you just imagine the cost of it? And even like, again, if you've seen all the people around you going away, you might start thinking, okay, maybe it's me next, right? So to recap, like, be lean, constantly adapt, and be a people first type of agency, because that is going to help you on the long run.
That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like it goes along a theme that I've really been hearing with a lot of the more established, successful agency owners, where it really is about like the people in your organization and your ability to retain clients and have a good reputation. Because if you are the revolving door agency, it's like, how do you grow if people continue to leave? Yeah. On the front end, though, especially as a growth hacker, how did you guys get your first few customers? And what sort of playbooks have you figured out now to continue bringing on new clients?
At the beginning, it was a lot of SEO. I'm a big fan of SEO. I think that it takes much more time than SEM, but the quality of leads and the positioning that you can have, it's unfair. So if you don't know how to do it, start it, right? There are so many YouTube videos. It's going to be easy? Absolutely not, especially if you just get started. You can maybe invest in an SEO company, agency helping you out with that. To me, that is one of the best investments that you can do, because once you get to a certain position and you keep it, but still working on it, you don't have to, let's say, quote unquote, like, you don't have to continue investing money every day. When you're like on SEM, you have to invest every day. The moment that you stop investing that day, you're not visible anymore. If you invest in SEO, it will take absolutely more time, but you're gonna be like to stay, hopefully, right? So SEO, absolutely. Like, going back to what I was saying, like, TikTok. I created this page, TikTok Influencer Marketing Agency. We're still first on Google, right? Still now. But at the time, we were the only one offering that. So imagine, like, if you're the first one thinking, like, hey, what is next? Let me create SEO behind that. Then even if we're going to get competition, but if you were the first one getting backlinks, it's going to take a bit for your competition to get out there. So SEO is a big one. Positioning, as I said before, go out there, be the authority, like, create your own authority in the space, right? The people want to know that you're going to be the leader, right? That can guide you. So that one is a good one. And networking, it helps a lot. I know that it's easy to say, right? But especially in major city, like I'm quite lucky to be living in New York City. There are so many happening all the time. And I never go, personally for me, I'm not a salesperson. I am a very good networker, but I'm not a salesperson. So for me, I go there without the idea of, like, I'm going to go there to find clients and to close them. No. I'm going to go there with the idea of, I'm going to go and meet people. And then if I'm able to find someone that's going to be a good potential client, I bring it to my sales team. But I'm not going to go there and sell, right? No one wants to be sold, especially during a networking event, right? So you also have to learn all these soft skills. How do you get the first person coming in? From a standpoint, it's not like I'm selling you on something, right? And then if they're interested, of course, you're gonna do. But again, like, it's all these skills. So I'd say, like, SEO, positioning, again, in any ways, networking. It's all things that you can, if you think about it, you can do with $0. SEO, you can do it yourself. And you're like, oh, but I had to buy backlinks. You can create them, right? Again, if you give something out, for free, people, believe me, are going to backlink you. Positioning, you can easily do that. Again, you can create your own report. You can create your own podcast. It's going to take time, absolutely, but it's your own time. So you don't have to literally put $1 out. And networking is the same. maybe, yeah, you just have to pay for public transportation to go somewhere. But a lot of events are for free. You don't have to pay. If we're talking about bigger conferences, yes, but there are so many meetups for new owners. And also what I say all the time is that if you can talk with other entrepreneurs, no one else but other entrepreneurs will understand you. If you talk with about struggle of getting clients to a friend of yours that is a 9 to 5, nothing against a 9 to 5, but they will never know the struggle and how to get your first clients, how to talk with others. Maybe don't talk with other direct competitors in your same niche, but I'm pretty sure that another agency owner that doesn't offer what you offer, right? They will be happy potentially to at least talk about it. And who knows, you're going to find complementary services. You're going to be like, hey, I don't offer SEO, but someone asking me about it. You don't offer graphic design, but I do. Can we send each other's clients? So there are so many ways that, again, with $0 budget, you can do it to get your first clients. And from there, you're going to start investing more, of the profits, yada, yada, yada. But again, you can still till now literally start with $0.
Are there any good inputs that you listen to or pay attention to in the marketing agency space where you kind of, look for information or newsletters that you're subscribed to?
I read a lot of newsletters, they're like the famous one, Social Media Today, eMarketer, there is all the Statista website. We're a partner of Statista, so we also send them data, but you can also find it there. There is The Information, where there is a creator economy, related newsletter. What else? I'm part of a membership called Hampton. There is private membership for entrepreneur, where it's a community where you can literally just go there and ask to other agency owners like, hey, are you facing these same issues? What is new? Can you send me something? So again, going back to talk to others in the same industry is going to help you a lot. But again, so from paid membership to just getting a newsletter for free, and these are just some of the few that I mentioned. And sometimes I try to maybe listen to some podcasts, but to be honest, I sometimes finding the time right is a bit difficult. Yeah. So reading, you can just skim through things. And lastly, I would say there are a lot of new newsletters, not from big publication, but from creators themselves, that tells you from the creator standpoint, where do you think that marketing is going? And I think that sometimes it's even better to read those type of newsletters than the big docs out there, because many times what is happening on the major publication, it's already, I would say, it's already mainstream. If you read it from a niche, newsletter, you might find little gems. They're not mainstream yet. And that's where you have your advantage, right? Knowing things before the others.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, this has been a really awesome conversation. I've enjoyed having you on the show. For anyone who wants to continue the conversation with you, where should they go?
LinkedIn. So if you just look, for my name there, I'm happy to connect with people, or also, my email. So it's going to be my name, Alessandro at theinfluencermarketingfactory.com. Always happy to, whenever I have the time to connect with others. And sometimes I also in the past, especially with very young people, I like to jump on little calls, maybe 20 minutes where I just listen in. I try to give my 2 cents, because I've been in that position, right? And I know that we're especially very young and inexperienced on certain things. They would like to have someone helping you out just to figure out things. And whenever I can, I do it. I also do it at university sometimes. I help college people to understand the real world that is behind all the books and all the theories. So, but if you want to connect with me, absolutely LinkedIn is going to be the best way, or also by email. Happy to connect.
Thank you so much for joining, Alessandro.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Bye.